So part two of the red hibiscus starts off with another layer of the purple in this upper petal. That's the diazonine purple. This petal is a little bit darker than the other petals are. So I'm actually going to use a little bit of a black wash and pull that up in to deepen some of those colors, and then come back in with some alizarin crimson and pull it back down a little bit. Again, when you're doing flowers and things like that, always pay attention to the natural grain or pattern in those petals. Painting your strokes, to match that natural grain will make it easier to get the feel, the effect of it. And I'm just basically using a finger to sort of blend or deaden that lighter shade so it's not quite so blaring. Now I'm using that round brush right here. I'm using that, I think it's a number 4 round, maybe a 6, fairly small, just to get that sort of dotted white right along the edge of the petal. Starting the last petal the same way, starting with the alizarin crimson, just putting in a base coat. And this is that number 8 filbert. Back in with the purple. And I want to set this petal because this is my petal that's back behind that stamen and back behind the other petal next to it. It's kind of the farthest back. So I'm using a little black with a little water in it, washing it down through that area to set it. The next thing that I am going to take a look at here is the background. Since it's somewhat transparent, sometimes it helps to put some undertones underneath. So I'm using some blue and some black. Greens often are kind of, they're just not always very authentic, and this is just a straight hooker's green that I'm using. So using the black and the blue underneath, and then I'm going to put some green over the top. It gives enough variety in that background to be a fairly convincing, just, you know, fuzzy, unclear, leafy kind of background that you might see in a flower garden. I'm doing this background pretty fast, so it is doing some blending right on the canvas. And then the last thing's going to be the stamen. So sometimes dotting with a paintbrush will give you a better texture, especially for something like these little kind of bud-like or flower-like projections on the stamen. They look kind of fuzzy almost. So I'm going to use a layer of white first to kind of pull up some of those fuzzy areas on the stamen and then give a base coat for the yellow. And I'm doing this a little bit, I guess, kind of impressionistic. Instead of trying to paint every little knob and tuft, I'm using just a dabbing technique to sort of establish the texture of this. And I'm being very impressionistic, very gestural about it, rather than super detailed. There are a lot of other tweaks at this point, that you could do to flesh this out and make it really perfect. But for, an hour and a half, this is a decent exploration of this media.